So let's get started, and thank you. Marty mentioned things that keep us up at night, and in case anyone was in the West Tower, it was screaming of the geese at 4 to 5 in the morning, in case anyone was staying there, a bit scary. So I'm honored to be your co-chair along with Kathleen. The first sort of housekeeping order of business we want to mention is try not to get the two of us mixed up over the next few days. It could get a bit confusing. I am the one with the lower maintenance bar. Kathleen will have various wardrobe changes throughout the afternoon, but both of us will try to keep the content moving as quickly as possible. So we really are excited to be the co-host. We found out last night that we were choice number 30 after Zuck, Ben Silverman, Cheryl, and Pincus couldn't make it because they're too busy basking in their IPOs and making millions of dollars, but we were very happy to take this over. You know, one of the things that Marty, with her very warm welcome, mentioned as far as my side, I think I've probably been to 16 or 17 iMedias. I was introduced from the sales side. I'd like to, that is true, but I'd also like to think that I represent the publisher side, including many of the guys and girls that are sales, that are known as sales. It's really the publisher side, and I think it's less about buy, sell, even though we're kind of broken up on our badges based on buy, sell. I think insurance people sell. I think this is more about partnerships and relationships. That's why I think both Kathleen and I continue to come back, and we've been able to build our careers using the iMedia platform. So try not to think about it too much as the buyers and sellers. This is about building partnerships and relationships over the next few days. So a couple of notes that both Kathleen and I want to share about iMedia. So for me, you know, coming to probably the 16th or 17th iMedia, this is about one of the most powerful communities in our industry, but primarily one that you're going to build long-lasting friendships. And when Marty mentioned Doug Weaver or John Durham, and including Marty herself, those are just a handful of people, and the lights are bright, but I see Peter, I see Joey. You do build relationships here that you know for a lifetime. So as an advocate of somebody that's been telling iMedia for a long time to get new faces in, I was really happy to see all the people still sitting down that are new for their first year. Use this as a platform to build relationships that you'll carry for a long time.
And there's really no other opportunity quite like an iMedia. For example, I've never been to a conference where I saw agency executives and publisher executives doing the electric slide last night with, I think, a high school dance troupe in there too. So. Keep that in mind. And my perspective is you get out of it what you put in, collaborate and engage. Don't sit on the sidelines. There are so many smart people in this room. Take advantage of it. It's one of the few places where there really aren't barriers to conversation. So whether that's over coffee, over a drink, go do it.
And again, I think for both of us, and as I mentioned, both of our careers, both at a personal perspective and company, I couldn't have started my company without this platform 4.5 years ago. So if you're a CEO or a sales director and you're trying to get your name out, you've chose the right platform. Things to think about, not so much the do's or don'ts. Kathleen and I aren't here to police or tell you what to do, but some things to think about. Try to be really open-minded while you're here. I think it's easy for a lot of us to take your work frustrations into a conference. I can't get this thing done, or my boss won't listen. Try to leave that behind and come in with a very open perspective that things can get done at this conference, and have sort of an everything is possible mindset. And then it sounds obvious, but be really nice and open to people. People want to do business. That's what we're here for. I know it's obvious to look at it as a vacation because we're in Colorado Springs and it's gorgeous, and it's amazing that I can continue to convince my wife that this is normal. But people want to talk shop, so encourage it. Try to be very open-minded on that point.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great to see so many new faces here, and there's a responsibility that comes with that on the veteran side, which is engage. If you see a newbie or a rookie sitting on the sidelines, please grab them, have a conversation. This is about engaging. So please grab them and have a conversation. Just a couple little rules, and again, they're not rules, they're lessons we've learned. Golf carts belong on the golf course, not in the lake. So please keep that in mind. There is altitude here, so pace yourself.
Absolutely. But both of us are very, very excited. As Marty mentioned, I mean, this is social. This is mobile, even though I think local and mobile could probably be combined. There are great companies being represented. I love the iMedia intro. I feel like it speaks to a lot of our open-end slides and our perspective. And companies like Tapjoy and Living Social, Django, there is a next generation, and that's what really what social is all about. It's next generation platforms that are really open to consumers and people. When I think about what social means, it's about people and users. And really, we hope that over the next couple of days, some of the companies that are speaking, we can think about what potentially has been ignored over the last few years through traditional advertising, is the end user, the people. So, one of the things that Kathleen and I talked about under the guidance and our advisory role under our watch that we're going to want to pay attention to, it's important that we think about the natural, well, tell me about targeting, tell me about data, tell me about analytics, tell me about conversion. Those are things that are important. But if you consider sort of the social ecosystem and these next generation platforms as a beautiful new frontier, so sort of equate it to Colorado Springs, it's free, it's open. There's a lot of unclutter. And if you think about where you came from over the last couple of days, whether it's New York City, Los Angeles, or any other busy city, and you think of the noise and the clutter that you left behind, and that being traditional ad tech, and I think we wouldn't disagree that there's a lot of noise and clutter, let's try to be open-minded as far as starting something really amazing and new over the next couple of days. So with that, if we could cue up the next slide, Kathleen and I are just going to open up with 5 quick opening points that we wanted to sort of highlight. I think this is obviously, this is obvious. There's been more conversation or trade press around sort of the traditional state of ad tech and the need for innovation and the need for creativity to move things along. And some of these quotes, I think, are very powerful. I won't read through each one, but really what this is calling out is that these next generation platforms, including many of the companies that are speaking here today, great new platforms that are innovating and thinking about people first, whether it's through social environments or mobile, they don't really have the ability to take traditional display in. This next generation or new generation of publishers, as they're putting users first, they don't want the traditional 728s and 300s in their environment. Why? Because it's not conducive to the user experience, and that's what this conversation and the next few days are all about. In addition, we're seeing leaders like Nick Denton, who's an iMedia alum as well, and his property Gawker and The Atlantic. They are being public about the display banners moving off of their sites over the next year or so. They're innovating their own internal product offerings like sponsored stories. They don't want the traditional display. So big media companies are saying, you're not going to see banners on our properties in the next year. We all know this news, even though I think personally the timing for Facebook's IPO to go public and call out pulling out dollars maybe was a bit aggressive, but ultimately it's important to note that I think there are people here from Facebook. I mean, clearly Facebook's an incredible business. Personally, we wouldn't have started our company without them. So this isn't a bad thing on Facebook. I think it's just important to note that there's opportunity as far beyond traditional display to build relationships with consumers. Kathleen, did you want to make any other point there or keep going?
Yeah, I think the point is we are at a new frontier and there are new opportunities, and I think we need to embrace those challenges. And the thought leaders in this room, you're all senior agency folks, you're all senior publishers. You own the money and the businesses that will really shape the future.
And again, this is just the opportunity to and to speak of some of the largest platforms that are creating an incredible amount of noise where traditional display is, not just through traditional ad tech and through the networks, but also on the largest and most popular platforms that we all use. I don't know how many of you guys have actually followed the confessions of the ad tech executives through Digiday, but this has been, I think, an incredibly enlightening and eye-opening series that they've done. And this is really calling out sort of the lack of trust through the traditional cookies and data that we're using. Not only are ads, normally it's ads are being ignored, but this is actually calling out that they're not even being seen. These are big statements that in the state of ad tech that we really need to pay attention to. We can't sort of assume that advertising's great, let's go to conferences and move forward. There's a lot of opportunity to improve here through where we've been. I think this one is probably one of the most telling. When you have new platforms that come into the ecosystem, whether it's, again, some of the companies that have done sponsorships here, Tapjoy or Solve Media, they're trying to introduce a new form to think about advertising. And if you have one of the largest public companies, such as AOL, trying to introduce a new product that's effective, but they can't move through because agencies are kind of stuck in their way of their buying behavior, that's a big deal. That means that even when innovation and creativity presents itself, it's tough to get it adopted. So, last 3 slides to wrap up before I introduce Doug. The current state of ad tech has been very effective over the last 13 years by placing ads next to content sites, right? And the idea is that you reach people through cookies. The idea is that they're supposed to click and they go to a website. And you can draw your own conclusions or opinions whether that's the best way to go or if there's other alternatives. And Facebook, for the most part, that's how that platform's used as well, is for people to click on banners and to do things. But it's important to note that the sequence of ad tech has been advertisers first. Okay? It's always been about the advertisers. The publishers benefit because they get half the check or approximately somewhere around there. But people and users have generally been ignored. And social, again, and mobile is about people. The winner's circle, if anyone's been following the Derby or Preakness or whatnot, the winner's circle are consumer-facing product companies and platforms that put people first. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Spotify, et cetera. They win, period. No one can take anything away from them, and it's publicly noted that they put advertising secondary, or we'll get to advertising once we assume that our user base is going to be okay. So the page-based media ecosystem's covered. These are great companies, awesome companies. I know these companies, and there's plenty of other companies within ad tech that do a hell of a job through video pre-roll and display to acknowledge traditional ad tech. But if we want to pay attention to Draw Something, now Zynga's property, or Spotify, I won't even ask people to raise their hands because I know every hand is going to go up, or tweeting, Pinterest, or sharing. There are no traditional display opportunities in these ecosystems. Think about that for a minute. There are no traditional display opportunities in these ecosystems. So you need to be open-minded to how to reach consumers based on what they're doing. So as we go forward over the next couple of days, social, local, mobile, neatly slotted in that top arrow. The down arrow doesn't mean that ad tech's going sideways. It just means that there's a gap. There's a gap between this particular conference in Colorado Springs the next few days, what we're here to talk about, and the traditional display market. And I think it's really important for this to move forward. We don't take our traditional practice, our traditional rule book, and what we think works, and try to apply it into this new frontier. So with that, we'll introduce Doug Weaver. So thank you. And before I do, I'll just say two quick words on Doug. Doug has been an instrumental leader in our industry for a while, primarily being an ambassador for the sales executive ecosystem. And he's put a lot of time and commitment through iMedia, but also through his own platform. So if you're a sales executive here and you have an opportunity to meet with him or say hello, introduce yourself, take advantage of it, he'll introduce his own platform, but he always brings a great conversation, so really honored to introduce him. Thanks.